Look, I'm really sorry that you guys had to get up and stretch, and I'm going to ruin all that. But the first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do, please do me a favor and just close your eyes for a minute. Don't be shy, just close your eyes and try to remember the last time you had an amazing digital customer experience. Now, I don't know what that was. Maybe it was with your telco provider, maybe it was with your insurance, with your hairstylist, how do I know? But I'm pretty sure that there was something about a seamless experience. It was something about online, maybe it was something about mobile, and everything went smooth. Everything was easy. You know what? I had this kind of experience a couple of months ago. That was actually with an insurance. I was in need to buy a new health insurance for myself. So I went online and I compared a few websites. I found one, and it was just amazing. It was clear, which never happens for insurances. The price was very clear. That was in my budget. That was exactly the type of insurance I needed. Sound just too good to be true. So I went on, and then I went to their form to subscribe. Easy, just a few steps, no redundant question. In a few minutes, I had filled everything. Then they asked for documents to upload. Still very easy. I had everything in PDF in my Dropbox. I just upload everything there. It worked. Then we came to the payment. Still easy. They even had PayPal, and I could pay for everything online. So nice, so simple. That was my super nice digital customer experience. But you can guess it, things went down the drain pretty quickly just after that. What happens is that about 3 weeks later, they sent me a mail, not an email, a paper mail. So I picked this insurance because they were fully digital and I had a beautiful first experience as a prospect. Then I became a customer. And what happened at the time is that they sent me this paper mail saying, "Dear Mr. Rio, we're deeply sorry, but it seems some information is missing for your account. Please fill in this paper form and return it by post ASAP." Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not too big about paper form because I'm sure the post office is going to lose it at some point. It's going to take 3 weeks to reach them. Then they're going to tell me some document is missing. I hate that. So I said, you know what? It was digital. I'm going to go back to their website. I'm going to fix it. So I went on their website, and then I looked for something to discuss, with an agent, something simple. I don't know, live chat or Messenger or WhatsApp for all I know. There were nothing. Okay, so I clicked and I go on their contact page. And what happens, they told me you have two solutions. Solution number one, you go with a hotline. Now, we talked about it quite a few times this morning if you paid attention, but I hate the phone even more than I hate the paper form. Why do I hate the phone? Because number one, most probably I'm going to have to pay for the communication or I'm going to have some surcharge. Number two, I know I'm going to have to wait for 15, 20 minutes on the line, and I hate that. Because I know that if I put the phone down, it's exactly at that time that the agent is going to pick up and say, "There's no one," hang up. Number three is because I hate the IVR. I've heard several times that people prefer to clean the toilets. I'm not sure I'm to that level, but I hate the IVR anyway because I hate pressing 1, 2, 3 hash key. Reason number four is because I know I'm going to have to identify myself, explain my problem, I'm going to be transferred. I mean, there are so many reasons why I hate the phone. Maybe it's my generation, maybe more of you guys have the same feeling as I have, but I hate the phone. So I went to option two. What was option two? Fill in the web form. Okay, sounds simpler. So I gave them my customer ID, my contract number, all my information, explain my problem, press send, problem solved. About 3 days later, I received the response. I was pretty excited. 3 days is quite long, but it's not that bad. The response was, "We acknowledge reception of your email. We transferred it to the right department. We'll get back to you very soon." Had to wait for another 3 days. Then I received the answer. "Dear Mr. Rio, we're sorry, but the department dealing with this kind of issue is another one. You're going to have to call the hotline." Back to square one. So I pick up my phone. And then I give them a call. And then I wait for 15 minutes on the line. And then I go through the IVR. And then I have to identify myself and explain my problem. I knew it would be that way, so I was not too disappointed about the experience. Luckily for me, the agent was really, really nice. He solved my problems in minutes. He apologized and he said, "We have an automated system that sends mails out. It's highly possible that you received the mail, but actually just don't worry about it. I checked your account. Everything is fine. You can ignore it. You're covered by insurance. Don't worry about it." Cool. Very next day, I received another email. "Dear Mr. Rio, now we have checked your account. Some information is missing. You have to send the paper form back." What's going on? I mean, I contacted the same company through 2 different channels, but that was the same company, the same customers, the same problem. How is that even possible that I get 2 different answers for the same issue? I don't give up. I call the hotline again, and I go through the entire process once more. That's another agent, but he's very nice as well, very understanding. He apologized for the experience, gave me some kind of explanation why his colleague gave me a different answer. Same thing, just ignore it, don't worry about it, I'm covered. Hang up the phone, everything is fine. A week later, I receive another paper mail. We still have not received your form back. Please respond now. I would stop the story here because I could continue on. There was another 3 back and forth before I could solve that, sorry. Why am I telling you this? Because I want to highlight a few key elements. This is a story that can happen to pretty much everyone, every day. So what happened? From my perspective as a customer, the first thing they did wrong was actually forcing me to use channels I did not pick. I chose a digital company. I did not want to get any paper mail. I did not want to get on the phone, but I had to. First mistake. Second mistake, from my customer's perspective, is the delay. I mean, 3 days for the acknowledgement of my email is long. Another 3 days to respond. Another 2 days to respond again to the same thing. Waiting 15 minutes on the line over and over again. All this kind of thing are just building up the frustration that you would have as a customer. And then there is a third one. That's the amazing part. How is it even possible that 2 people from the same company, seemingly the same department, give me different answers and force me to call one or the other all the time? No communication between departments is a real issue because as a customer, I expect there is only one voice for that company. That's what it meant for me. But what does that mean for the company itself? Well, first thing first, I'm just not going to be a brand ambassador for that company. That you can be sure of. Customer satisfaction would be a big issue in that situation. But that goes way beyond that. If we analyze a little bit deeper what just happened, they just virtually increased tremendously their backlog. Think about it. I had one problem, I was just one customer, and we had like 10 to 15 different exchanges. Could have been solved in one, but we went up to 15. If this company does it with every single customer, they just multiply by 15 the volume of messages they have to deal with. What does that mean? That means if I have 15 times more messages, I need to hire more people. I need to train more people. I need to manage more people, and I need to pay more people. At the end of the day, all this leads to one very simple result, is a huge loss of profit for the company. Now there is one thing that we all have to agree on. Our expectations as customers, as consumers, raise incredibly fast. Just look at this nice little device we all have in our pockets. Just think about it for 1 second. You go on your phone and you try to check your emails and you scroll down, to synchronize to get your latest mail, and it doesn't work within 2 seconds. We all get, but think about it, it goes out to space. I mean, it does kind of make sense that it takes time, but we don't accept that. Why we don't accept that? Because we are used to have something better. As soon as you get something great, you expect this is a new norm. There is this sentence from Louis C.K., an American comedian that I love. How quickly the world owes us something we did not even know existed 10 seconds ago. And that's really what it is. As soon as you experience something great, this is a new norm, and you want it everywhere. You might have heard of these few companies here, things like Airbnb, Uber, Amazon. They might not be in the same business as you are, but as soon as they provide your customers with amazing customer experience, your customers expect to get the same thing from you. Because you will not understand that Uber is so fast and so easy and so convenient, and then you call your bank, your telco, your insurance, and you don't get the same kind of experience. Nowadays, your customers are looking for convenience, they are looking for mobile, they are looking for speed, they are looking for care, and that's what we need to provide them with. This is a chart I love because it's already 2 years old, so you can expect it's even more obvious today. But this shows the preference of communication channels for new generation. So Basically, the more you go to the left of the graph, the more you see the newer generation and how much they love to use new channels for communication. So no surprise here if I tell you that younger generations prefer messaging and social media over phone or email. And that's the same for companies. Why? Because if I spend my entire day on Messenger or WhatsApp or Twitter, then once I contact the company, I expect to be able to use these exact same channels. Let's have a quick survey here. How many of you, just raise your hand, how many of you are using at least one messaging or social media app every single day? Please raise your hand. So pretty much everyone, right? The official number from a recent survey is 80% of adults and 91% of teenagers are using these apps every day. What does that mean from a company perspective? If my customers spend time on these channels every single day, can I afford not to be available on these channels? Now we're going to go back to another acronym. I understood that was kind of the deal for today, so let's talk about NPS. What is NPS? To make it simple, is a probability that a satisfied customer is going to promote your brand, become your brand ambassador. A recent survey from the company Teleperformance shows us that the more touch points you get, the higher your NPS. In other words, the more ways exist to contact your company, the more your customers are going to be willing to promote your brand. If you think about it a little, it actually makes complete sense. You have so many customers that have tiny problems, and they won't tell you. Why won't they tell you? Simply because the burden of picking up the phone and going through the IVR is actually bigger than the challenge they are facing right now. But a small burden adds up to another one, and a third one, and a fourth one, and the frustration just builds up until they decide to move on to a different company. And in the telco world, it's so easy to switch from one company to the other. The key is customer loyalty. To solve this people's problem, you have to give them a way to contact you even when they have a tiny problem and not wait for the huge one or the billing one to give you a call. And to achieve that is very simple. The more channels you add, the more available you are, gonna make it, and the easier it gets to call you up, give you a message, send you an email to actually solve your problem. Now, if I go back to my initial story, just to analyze a little bit deeper what they could have been doing differently. The first mistake they made, as I said, was forcing me on different channels because they had so few channels available for their customers. So that's pretty easy to solve. I mean, just adding new channels, right? Not that it's so easy from an organization point of view, but you can just solve it by adding new channels. But that does not solve the second biggest problem they had, which is the lack of communication between teams. Why does it happen? Simply because you have silos. If you have a team for call, and a team for email, and a team for social media, and a team for live chat, and a team for messaging, and that goes on, and there is no conversation between these different teams, they have different tools, they have different training, they have different objectives, they have different analytics, and so on. What happens at the end of the day is your customers get a different experience depending on which channels they've been using. Now, 58% of consumers claim that the biggest source of frustration for them is actually having inconsistent customer experience across channels. Because you definitely don't want to be contacting your customer care through email and get a different answer from what you're going to get through Messenger or through phone. Solving that issue of those technological silos we all had at some point, or we all have today, is actually solving 58% of your customer source of frustration today. Then there is a problem of digital identities. It's very easy when you're in a store to know who is in front of you. Maybe you have the loyalty card, or the ID card, or the credit card, or just recognizing the person in front of you. That's pretty easy to identify someone. But in the digital world, the game is completely different. Because how do you know that johndoe@gmail.com is the same person as @johndoe on Twitter? You have no idea. However, identifying your customers is really essential, because that's another big source of frustration for all your customers. If you ask them to identify themselves over and over again, it's frustrating for them because they waste a lot of time and energy telling you who they are, where they consider you should know already. but it's also a problem for yourself because your agents are just wasting so much time trying to identify people they should know already. Repeating your problems over and over again is also a major source of frustration, and all that could be solved if only you could identify your customers. And that brings me to who we are. So Dimelo is an omni-digital platform helping enterprises connect with their customers in the digital world. Putting it simply, we're the link between customers and companies using all the panel of digital channels. Today, we are present in 65 countries around the world, and we work with 200 large companies all over the world, and we recognize 72 languages automatically. These are just a few of the companies we are working with today, so I put some of the telcos we are already working with, as well as some other major clients we've been working with in the past few years. What we do for all these companies is basically helping them connect on a deeper level with their customers through channels that their customers prefer, making it so much easier to find this little problem that no one wants to tell you about because they don't want to pick up the phone, solve that problem, reduce the churn rate, and increase customer satisfaction. To put it simply, we connect everything digital from social media, messaging, live chat, email, communities, and even chatbots, making sure all that comes through one single platform, making it so much easier for your agents to identify who they are talking to and respond. Basically, we are taking the channel issue away and focusing on customers' problem. If everything comes through one single tool, you no longer focus on, is this message coming from Twitter or from email? It does not matter anymore. What matters is, who is that customer? What can I do for him? Basically, what we are doing today is taking all messages coming from all these different channels, trying to analyze in 72 different languages, what is the message all about? And who is the right person to answer that question, so that you never get this transfer anymore. You no longer have to respond to your customer, sorry, I don't deal with invoicing, billing, or technical issue, I'm going to transfer you to the right team. We just automatically, with artificial intelligence and machine learning, understand what is the message all about and send it to the right agent. Why we do that? Because having only one team and removing the technological silos means less training for your agents, faster response time, better resources allocation, lower churn rate, higher customer satisfaction, and at the end of the day, higher profit for the company. Another thing we do pretty well is customer identification. I mentioned it earlier, but a dissatisfied customer is going to contact you on average through 3 different channels. Why? Because we always expect that one of the channels is going to be faster than the other. So you just copy-paste your message once on Twitter, once on Facebook, once through email, because you know that one of them is going to be faster and you want the fastest possible answer. Now, if you don't identify that this is 3 times the same person, you deal with 3 times more messages. You have, once again, to increase your human resources to deal with this. But if you identify that this is the same person, then you decrease your volume of messages tremendously. Last but not least, we are an open platform. We believe that a customer care department is a large ecosystem. In average, a customer care department is made of somewhere between 8 and 12 different tools. Here we are talking about things like CRM, BI, BPM, call solution, and so on. All these different tools have to be part of the ecosystem. You can't remove any one of them, you need them. But the question is, are they connected together? Is the information flowing through your customer care department, or are you once again building silos? That means that the information becomes redundant, obsolete, or just lacking. 42% of customer care agents are just not able to resolve efficiently a customer problem because of those disconnected systems. So we believe that what has to be done is really to connect all these bricks to provide the outstanding customer experience your customers expect. And I'm just going to finish with 3 examples of customers we've been working with for the past few years. This is BNP, one of the top 10 banks in the world, with who we work since 2011, I believe. And we've just been developing with them for the past few years. As their customer expectations change, as their customers' expectations evolve, we just help them grow with their customers and always keep that bridge between them and never break it. I also like this example of Banglalink. You might not have heard of them, but they are pretty huge. 50 million users in Bangladesh. That's a pretty big telco. Their main issue is there are 5 different languages commonly used by their customers, and most of their agents can speak 5 different languages. They are available on 10 different digital channels, and they receive hundreds of thousands of messages each month. The challenge is, how am I able to allocate the right message to the right agent with the right skill, the right language, the right availability? That becomes very complex. That's the kind of problem we solve for these companies. And last but not least, you talked about it just earlier. You were talking about Netflix. I'm going to talk about iFlix. Netflix is US, Europe. iFlix is Africa, Middle East, and Asia mostly. Pretty much same concept. Small company, huge potential of growth. What we did with them today, they are in 49 countries around the world, but when they started, they had only 5 countries. And their problem was, we know how long and difficult it is to deploy an IT projects across the world. Deploying a CRM might take somewhere between 1 and 3 years for one country. Just imagine what happens when you grow so fast that you need it in 25 countries. What we've done with them is deploying a solution in 25 countries within a year to make sure that we give them full control from their Malaysian HQ while giving sufficient flexibility to each local city in their own countries to deal with their own channels and their own languages to satisfy their customers on their own terms. I wouldn't like you to leave this room without giving a few key takeaways, so I'm gonna jump on that part. First thing is, your customers' expectations have changed, and you have to catch up with this. Exactly as I was showing earlier with my phone, we get very frustrated when we don't get what we want. That's the same for everyone, that's the same for your customers, and you have to catch up with their new expectations. Second thing is, your customers' behaviors have changed. Their communication channels have changed, and you have to catch up with it. Because you no longer can force them on channels that are inconvenient for them, because sooner or later, they're just going to move to a competitor that provide them with better solutions. It's no longer just about the product and the pricing. That's really all about customer care and loyalty. Then there is a consistent customer experience. People just don't want to get different answers on different channels. There should be one brand voice, one voice only, and whatever channel I use, I should get the same feedback from the company. Next is about the various tools. You have to have several tools. There is not one single provider today who is able to do everything, who is going to claim that, yeah, I do CRM, I do digital interactions, I do call, I do BI, I do BPM. Well, maybe someone will claim it, but you can be sure it will never be exactly what you need. You need several tools that are suited for your needs. But the question is, how do you connect them together, making sure that they share the same information? And last but not least, you have to identify your customers. This is so important because as soon as you identify your customers, you reduce their frustration, you increase their satisfaction, but even from your perspective, you reduce the workload. You increase the productivity and you increase your profits at the end of the day. I hope that was insightful, and I'd be happy to answer any question if there are some. Thank you very much.